one thing, none of us like to see a young man have to go through this so publicly, but Will Levis now will get a chance to go to a team that maybe feels that they can use him in a better capacity by getting him in the second round or whenever they draft him. The large thing this is if you watch the 2022 film, this is who Will Levis is. The 2021 film was a little bit better. Now you're going to have the questions about why you couldn't start over Sean Clifford when you were at Penn State, why you had the drop-off without the skilled players around you or without the protection that you had the year before. And I think Tim said something that was very important. You wanted to get the opportunity to ask Will Levis why. And in the evaluation process, those answers matter. Can you explain to me why you made this decision? Can you explain this throwaway? And if you can't do those things and you don't have the right level of humility or you don't have the sort of football acumen that makes us believe we can coach you out of this and coach you out of this quickly, does someone want to take that chance in the first round? And it seemed that no team was willing to do that.
Yeah, and I think, a couple things here. Number one, next April, when we're having these conversations about, well, what do you think this team's going to do? We don't know.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we know what we're being told, and we sort the information as best we can, but there were people in the Houston building that liked Will Levis. They weren't the ones that ultimately made the pick. Yeah. Right? C.J. Stroud won out in their evaluation. And I think, similar thing in Indianapolis. And the other thing is, second round's not so bad. Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick that until yesterday was the highest-paid player in the league and was surpassed by a guy who was the 32nd pick in the draft, who was the fifth quarterback taken in his draft. So absolutely, he could end up in a better situation than he would have been otherwise.
I think the trick is he visited like 8 different teams.
Yes, he did. We have a graphic for. Yeah,
that's the part. It's like we're saying here, hey, second round's not bad, but these are all teams drafting in the first round that you can make a strong argument were heavy into the quarterback, market.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
And so the fact that,
yes. Yeah. And so when you see that and you say, well, he fell. And in terms of the toe injury, look, that affected the 2022 play. That was an issue. So I think that, there are a lot of factors to this. I think the tape, matters the most. But I also think part of it was, and this is the dirty side of the draft.
Yep.
He got used in this, and unfortunately, because otherwise you don't go to Kansas City and sit there if you don't think that he's being drafted.
Why would he be used though? But why would he be used? Like the Texans got the second pick.
No,
it's not like somebody was gonna come up and.
Ryan,
take the second pick
Ryan, did most people believe that it was going to be C.J. Stroud? They did not. Listen, the Texans did a great job. They got their guy without everyone believing that it was going to be their guy. Okay, he's not going to the draft if he doesn't think that he's getting drafted last night. I don't know how you could possibly dispute that.
Yeah, that I don't dispute.
I mean,
okay. Let's get Mike T's opinion here because we showed the graphic of the 8 teams, right, that he visited. 3 of them filled their quarterback need in round number 1. And again, this is about situation, going to the right place, a fit. Which team needs to be selecting Levis tonight in round number 2?
Yeah, 2 jump off to me, Seattle and the Rams, and that could be great situations for Will Levis because he could sit for a year behind Geno Smith, behind Matt Stafford, get well coached, and then take over. And I agree, this is a really hard evaluation, Kevin. You go back a year ago, he had 11 rushing touchdowns. He looks like Ben Roethlisberger because he's big and he's rugged. You watch him this year, as RC alluded to, 23 interceptions over the last 2 years. There's some Brady Quinn in his game. He's really tight in his upper body. So he's a hard evaluation. But we got to remember, this is the beginning of the story, not the end of it. So if he sat for a year behind a really good quarterback and a really good organization, as agonizing as it was last night, and it was agonizing to watch here in Kansas City, that doesn't mean he still can't have a great career.
I mean, to your point, really tight. We talked about this specifically with Dan Orlovsky as well as Tim. He looks like he came out of a Muscle magazine, and he could play linebacker. He is jacked up here. And does that play a role when you're that tight here and making throws?
I don't think it's an advantage for a quarterback. No, not one. I mean, find me the guy that you're like, yeah, that guy was muscled up like that and a great quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, the list would be very short.
It's the opposite of pliability that we see with Tom Brady. And it worked out with Tom Brady. Shane Steichen there, and one of the keys is you have a new head coach, so you have time to develop. There's no panic setting in. How did this pick come together here at 4?
Well, this was the guy they were kind of locked in on all along, and they were hoping to get him. A little bit of nerves after quarterbacks went 1-2, and there was some discussion about maybe them being the team to go up to 3, but they decided they could wait. And Richardson was the guy. You mentioned Shane Steichen. Mm-hmm. They believe Shane Steichen's experience with young quarterbacks will be helpful. He was with the Chargers, and Justin Herbert was there. And that's a guy that developed pretty quickly, played more earlier than I think people anticipated and better. And then, of course, Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. So the Colts believe this is a coaching staff that will be able to identify strengths and weaknesses of this player and lean on the former while working on the latter. And the sky-high upside is what attracted them, right? They've sort of been good enough at quarterback for some of these recent years. They'd like to be great, and they feel like this is a chance to do that.
RC, he's a complete freak show, especially what you saw at the Combine. All the things he can do physically, right? But Tim brings up a good point about experience. And Jalen Hurts had a lot of experience in college football. We didn't see a lot with Anthony Richardson. Is this the right or wrong pick here at 4?
I mean, I think it's about your school of thought, right? It's about your personal story, and that's who we are as humans. You know, you talked about Justin Herbert and also Jalen Hurts. These were two guys who had a ton of experience in the college game, but they were question marks. We didn't know what Justin Herbert could be. Shane Steichen saw some of that elite athletic ability make him a very viable and really good starter early on in his career. Jalen Hurts, who had played a lot of games, didn't show the propensity to be a guy right away who could be the team leader or be a starter on an NFL team, and now he was, at least until yesterday, the highest paid quarterback in the entire NFL. And I think he's going to see some of those same things in Anthony Richardson, and now in seeing those things, we're going to watch him have an opportunity to become the quarterback they believe he can be while leaning on some of those athletic traits early on in his career.
Okay, when you look at the Jalen Hurts situation, too, in Philadelphia, taken in the second round, not a lot of expectations, just the guy as the insurance policy for Carson Wentz, because Wentz had the propensity to get hurt. Mm-hmm. Then he slides right in. Specifically here, Gardner Minshew is on, he's right now slated as the penciled-in starting quarterback. How should the Colts approach Richardson moving forward as a quarterback? What's your viewpoint?
Listen, my point on this whole thing is you don't know. There's not enough data. Jalen Hurts started 42 games in college. 42. And he played in a bunch of other games as well. And so you take that in. Then you factor in when he played a little bit as a rookie, then he played the next year. He's actually played in the NFL. So who we're seeing now is not who he was. Now I say that because now look at guys that didn't play a lot in college. Mitchell Trubisky drafted in the first round at 13 starts. Mark Sanchez, I think at like 16 or 17 starts. Trey Lance played in less than 20 games. And so I think when you look at that, you just have to say, like, look, we're guessing. Anyone who says they know is lying because you don't know. It's the most difficult position in sports, and we're here saying, hey, it doesn't matter if you've played it or not. I'm not saying the guy shouldn't be drafted. I'm not saying you don't take a chance on him. I'm saying at number 4, which means you have to play him, and you have to play him soon. And I just don't think that the comparison to Hurts is fair. Well, hey, why did Brock Purdy, who is not physically nearly the player, have success? Because he started over 40 games.
Yeah, okay.
Like in college. Like it matters.
Maybe the connection is because Steichen is the guy that brings both of these together, right? What, RC? Go ahead.
He started 40 games, but he also played in San Francisco where they don't ask the quarterback to be great. I think every situation is different. And I agree with Tim. We don't know what Anthony Richardson is going to be. He hasn't played a ton of snaps, but what they do understand is that his athletic ceiling is higher than maybe any quarterback that we've ever seen. An arm like a Josh Allen, a body like a Cam Newton, the speed of a guy like Lamar Jackson. And so if you're Shane Steichen, you know that you are going to be tasked with getting an offense around this dude that uses those athletic traits. And from what I've heard, and also in talking to him last night, one, he wants to be a Hall of Famer. He wants to play right now early on in this season, and he's going to put the work in to do those things. And I think we have to wait. Just as we didn't know about Jalen Hurts, we don't know about this young man.
Mike T., you have experience with this, drafting a quarterback in the top 10 with not a lot of college experience. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we won early despite Mark Sanchez because we could run the ball. We played great defense. And then Mark got better. We went to back-to-back championship games despite him only starting 16 games. But what I would say, Patrick Mahomes sat for a year despite them trading up. I would not play Anthony Richardson early. He has a ways to go in terms of the experience, as Tim alluded to. His talent is undeniable, but we have to make him great for the next 10 years, and that's why I would start Gardner Minshew.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.